Hey, welcome back from the break. Hopefully you got good chats or time to sip a bit of coffee. Again, thanks for our sponsors. Hopefully you have visited their stands and have a good chats. I knew that at least know it, guys. We're just eagerly waiting for you to have a good discussions. Then if we look briefly, about the next speaker. So we have Markus Vartiovaara from Finland. He works in OP Corporate Bank as a director, responsible in this area of agile transformation. OP Bank is one of the first financial industry companies that actually are going to implement organizational-wide agility. So it means that not just the product development, software development, but every single function there exists in a company will follow agile practices. So in OP Corporate Bank, this actually means that over 800 people in Finland and in Baltics, from sales and customer support to the product development, they will go to work in agile teams. For the company, actually, it means a very strong focus to understand, for example, value streams. It means a huge cultural change. For example, we have to introduce a new concept of shared leadership in the company. This all has been very successful because of motivated people to build a new company culture from scratch. So not just following a ready-made framework and read it as a cookbook, but really invent good ways of working that fits to this particular area of work. So Markus will tell you more about how this has been possible and why 2 out of 3 employees currently think that the new OP is better than the old OP. So Markus, please come to the stage.
Hi there.
Moi Markus.
Moi moi. All right. Thank you, Jenny. Can you see the slide? Can you hear me?
You?
Okay, and you can see me as well?
Yes. Now I cannot see any more your slides.
Okay, but there you can.
Now I can.
Very good. And hello everyone online. Thank you for inviting me to this virtual stage today to share experiences from our agile transformation journey that we've done in OP Corporate Bank. The topic for this session is business agility. I'm sure most of you have already had agile methods widely used in your organizations, and you have probably good insight to agile culture as well. In this presentation, I will tell you about our approach to business agility and share some experiences from our transformation journey we did last year. In the end of the presentation, I will conclude with some lessons learned, and then we will have some time for Q&A. But let's start from the beginning. OP Financial Group is a cooperative that consists of 147 cooperative banks that are owned by our customers. The central cooperative provides services for the banks, and it's divided to 3 business segments. Altogether, there are 12,000 employees in the group, of which around 5,500 work in the central cooperative. Today, I will talk mainly about the transformation we did in the corporate banking segment. The corporate banking segment consists of banking and investment management services for corporate and institutional customers. We support our customers' business success, growth, and also their expansion to abroad. We provide extensive services and solutions for various situations such as financing, hedging, payment services, management of cash flows and working capital, and risk management. The scope of our Agile business transformation was the whole banking business we have in Finland, which is around 800 employees. Our Baltic operations that are part of corporate banking were out of the scope for this phase. But before starting an Agile business transformation, the most important question for every company to consider is, why business Agile? We know some banks initiated their Agile transformation as a way to get out from a crisis. Some had challenges with profitability, some had recruiting problems due to old-fashioned and bureaucratic corporate image. Whatever the reason is, the Agile transformation is so extent that it requires a genuine purpose and foundation. Or if I turn it around, Agile transformation should never be made for the sake of agility itself. Only a well-grounded transformation will succeed and continue evolving over time. When we started our journey in OP Corporate Bank, I think we did not have an obvious answer to this question. We were profitable, we were market leader with organic growth, and we had, according to surveys, we had a quite good employer image as well. Besides, our product management and ICT were already working in Agile teams, and they were scaled up by Safe Trains. So, why to change? When we look at our business, corporate banking, there are substantial changes in the business environment, in customer behavior, and in regulation. We need to be very good at responding to a number of external changes in order to provide the best services to our customers also going forward. The internal message was also quite clear. When we asked our employees, they wanted to cut bureaucracy and take down internal silos. So our response to the question why is our vision: to be the leading and the most attractive financial services group in Finland. And business agility was a perfect paradigm to drive the new culture that we needed. All right, what is business agility then? Business agility is a broad concept. Wikipedia defines business agility as the ability of an organization to rapidly adapt to market and environmental changes in productive and cost-effective ways. I think this is a pretty good description, but it leaves out all the details. On the other hand, our experience is that every organization must figure out the details themselves. That's actually where the transformation starts. In corporate bank, the business consists of different operations as shown in the picture. We have the customer, we have sales and relationship banking, we have business operations such as customer service, middle and back office operations, credits, analytics, portfolio management and trading, and so forth. We have product development and ICT, and we have support functions such as HR, risk management, security, legal, compliance, finance, and so forth. When we consider all these operations from the perspective of agile methods, most of the methods primarily are created for product and ICT development. Such methods include Scrum, XP, and SAFe, for instance. Lean and Kanban have great concepts and mindsets for operations, but the primary focus is not in agility, I think. Our business is very customer-centric, so the natural approach was to start from the customer and address all the related operations. The end-to-end thinking is the key design principle in our Agile organization. Even though agility is often regarded as an internal working method, customers should be considered as part of it. Most importantly, the voice of the customer should be loudly heard and understood across all the operations. In many cases, it should also mean working together with the customer. For instance, in our recent study concerning digital services, our customers wanted more co-development with us. When they develop their business processes, we offer them a variety of APIs they can leverage on, and hence a close collaboration is actually quite natural. Let's take another example from the business operations. In our customer service, we have around 200 employees and in corporate bank, and they probably have the best insight into how the customers use our services. If we are able to systematically bring that insight to the development teams, our ability to come up with better features and to prioritize the existing ones improves dramatically. Support functions are also part of the end-to-end thinking. They are so important that it would be really hard to think of delivering any services to our customers without the contribution from support functions. In addition to the end-to-end thinking, business agility needs a common culture. We all know culture cannot be brought in by training people or putting posters on the wall. Culture is built on values and through interaction between people, and it takes time. As part of the change, we introduced 4 principles that were shared group-wide. These principles are part of OP's overall transformation to provide a common foundation for our new culture. The first one summarizes well what I just said about the role of the customers. They are at the heart of our operations. The second principle emphasizes continuous learning, and in the new culture, it's okay to make mistakes. We learn from them and adjust direction and reprioritize accordingly. Agility is about working together. In the new organization, self-managed teams figure out the best way to achieve the team's objectives. The third principle states the teams are accountable, which means the teams will also need more power than before. When it comes to the fourth principle, transparency equals trust. Increasing transparency is also an effective way to reduce reporting and other bureaucracy without compromising visibility. When you increase transparency, you get trust. And with trust, there is less need for reporting. In OP Corporate Bank, we started our journey in February 2019. We invited all employees to give ideas and feedback how we should improve our way of working. We made the objectives visible and started piloting agile principles in selected areas already in the organization we had in place a year ago. It was probably around March when we had concluded the full scope of the transformation. And wow, we realized that it's the whole bank, every part of it. It was clear that this was the biggest change in the history of OP Corporate Bank. Furthermore, very few companies have done a change this extensive, and I mean very few in the world. At least that's what our advisors told us. And those companies who had done it had spent like 2 years on planning and several years rolling it out in phases. Our ambition was to go live by the end of the year in one phase. I remember our management team was a bit overwhelmed with the challenge, but everyone agreed this is the right way to go. We wanted to be pioneers, and the commitment from our management team to this change was rock solid. In the beginning, we had 4 specific objectives for our change. Get closer to our customers, make development more business-driven, remove silos and reduce bureaucracy, and improve customer experience. Improve employee experience. These objectives are easier said than done. So in order to enable all the good things necessary to happen, we need to change our organization. The new organization is not a direct answer to any of these objectives specifically, but it's a critical enabler for all of them, as well as for the new culture. We figured out a number of principles to help designing the new organization. The first key design principle is to design the organization around the end-to-end value streams that are relevant for the customers. Now referring to the value chain I talked about just 5 minutes ago. Following the first principle, the next one follows, saying all operations related to the value stream are in the same organization, including sales, customer operations, and product development. Organizational layers cause silos and bureaucracy, and we wanted to get rid of those. Furthermore, a lean organization is a prerequisite for shared leadership, which is a fundamental concept to enable agility. As part of the transformation, we removed 2 to 3 organizational layers from our organization. Separating the line and functional organizations was probably the most confusing design principle, since we had strong culture that relied on line management and line organization. Let me elaborate a bit on this one. Line organization is the home base for line managers and other employees. In Agile organization, a good practice is to build the line organization around competencies, and that's what we did. As the new organization was leaner, the size of the line units became larger, typically between even 20 to 50 people. Therefore, to administer the employees is a full-time job for the line manager. That means that line manager doesn't have time to manage the content, actual content, what the people do. And that's not part of the job description of line manager actually at all. So this forces the shared leadership to happen. The other organization is the functional organization, which is built around teams. Teams are also the entities where agility happens. And in OP Corporate Bank, we have a bit more than 100 teams. Teams consist of members from different parts of the line organization. They're established around areas and things that sustain over time. This is different to, for instance, project organization, where projects are established to produce a one-time outcome. Teams have objectives that are set for a period of time and aligned across other teams. Teams are self-managed, which means they will figure out the best ways to meet the given objectives. Our teams are quite different in different parts of the end-to-end value chain, a value stream. We have, for instance, customer teams that consist of roles addressing the customer needs, and figuring out the best service for them. Then we have customer service teams that have a tight focus on serving the customer on a daily basis. The product development teams consist of traditional development roles combined with business expertise. We have also DevOps teams in the areas where development is active and development process can be automated with modern tools. Then we have many business teams that have a very specific role, such as trading or portfolio management of certain assets. Our business in OP Corporate Bank is highly regulated, and we need to, for instance, segregate certain business operations from each other. So even though we have these design principles, there can be constraints that overrule them. Nevertheless, the segregation of the line and functional organization is a way to shift power from the traditional organization to the teams. And this is needed to enable the agile culture. The self-managed teams are less attached to the line organization and hierarchy. Every team has a product owner who is responsible for prioritizing the team's work. In our model, this is sort of a hat role. It's typically given to a person who has the best knowledge and skills for that role. In the traditional organization, that role was typically embedded in the line manager role, but from agility perspective, it was not always the best combination. Servant leadership in practice means removing blockers. Those leaders who set up the team's objectives are responsible to react to blockers escalated by the teams and remove them. The management becomes kind of agile masters in a larger scale. Employees must be in the planning process for 3 reasons. Firstly, people commit to what they have been part of. Secondly, the outcome is just simply so much better when there have been more brains involved doing it. And thirdly, the organization is built once, but building culture takes several years. When people participate to the process, they start their personal change journey at the same time. We learned also by metrics that employees were much more positive in areas that engaged them earlier to the change. And finally, there are a number of exceptions to most of these principles, both for regulative reasons, but also for practical reasons. So common sense must always be used. The transformation is successful only when the outcome fits the purpose. During the springtime 2019, we worked a lot on the design principles, roles, organization, and the new concepts. The negotiations started in August, and we worked a lot with the specific needs that the different business areas had. The new roles and structures started to clarify towards the end of the year, and in November, we were confident that the new organization will be launched successfully the 1st of January 2020, and it did. So, what have we accomplished so far? We've been live with a new Agile organization for 5 months now, half of it with COVID-19, unfortunately. Corona really put our organization into a test. Are we really better in reacting to such dramatic change in our environment now when we are agile? We were lucky in a sense that most of the first quarter was still business as usual, and the new teams got a good start. When Corona hit us all, the teams needed to find a way how to run the business operations with team members working from different physical locations. We have heard positive feedback from many teams saying that better transparency and the power given to the teams has actually helped a lot. It will take some time to see if we will meet all the objectives or maybe when we will meet them. But what is really encouraging is that already in the first employee survey after going live, 2/3 of our employees said they prefer the new working method over the old one. We have parts of OP where the Agile method has been in use for a longer time, and in those areas, the respective figure has risen already above 90%. So we are pretty confident that we are on the right track in OP Corporate Bank as well. Our journey moves on with continuous improvement as the main theme. Our focus is to systematically bring up and execute improvements to make the organization work better. We need to be better in setting common goals, breaking broader objectives to team objectives that the team can work towards to is actually not a trivial exercise. It's great to see that we are getting better and better all the time. Dependencies between business processes, systems, products, and data, they didn't disappear when we went agile. So managing those is a very familiar challenge that we need to focus also going forward. The feedback-driven culture, the new line manager roles with a lot of personal administration, competence development, and the two organizations, the line and the functional, they demand a lot of support from HR. We need to improve our tools and processes to support the new roles. Shared leadership means that more people are in leadership roles than before. So self-managed teams need coaching and servant leadership to perform. This is a personal journey of change for all of us in OP Corporate Bank. And we all need time and some gentle guidance as well. Finally, I'd like to conclude a couple of lessons learned for those of you considering business agile transformation and to those of you maybe already on the way. This is a do-it-yourself kind of exercise. A body of knowledge doesn't exist. Every organization needs to design their own business agile organization and methods. There is no shortcut. And actually, the transformation itself is a vital part of the journey. Right reasons. Remember the why question and be honest with it. The change is so huge, so big, that it requires unconditional support from the top management. There has to be also an atmosphere of trust. People must feel safe and trusted in order to increase self-management. The culture must allow also failures. When you plan and implement, like I said, do it together with the employees. Keep it lean and make sure the leadership is shared. It's very important. When the larger changes are done and the transformation moves on to the next phase, it's important to get the continuous improvement practices such as retros and coaching up and running. Agile coach is a great new role that will help not just the teams to perform, but also the management on their own journey. I will finish here. Thank you for listening, and I hope this presentation gave you some new ideas and inspiration. So over to you, Jenny.
Okay, hey, we have lots of questions in the Q&A, and let's start with those ones. Okay, to anticipate, so OP was using ScanAgile Framework, so SAFe before. Did you experience problems with that, or what was the reason to reject and forget SAFe?
I mean, first of all, we had SAFe as a basis in OP, so I think we had more than 20 SAFe trains in place before business agility concepts came up. and that was actually a very good basis. It really is sort of the safe. There you get the basic agile concepts in place. You start getting the mindset. There also the lean thinking and all that, and the teamwork. It's a very good way to start. The thing why we kind of rejected safe was maybe, I don't think it was a conscious decision, but it was just like when you take business agility, there you need to have a very the focus on to end-to-end chain, and also what you need to be able to do, you need to kind of design the new way of working for your own organization. So ready-made models and frameworks don't really play out well when you bring all the different flavors like sales, relationship management, customer service, risk management, etc. It kind of requires a bit more, a bit broader toolbox, if I may say so.
Okay, thank you. The next question is, what is a scale of cultural change? Is organizational level enough in order to achieve the business agility within the regulated banking industry? Comment is that remove silos and reduce bureaucracy can be a challenge. So what is the scale of cultural change?
The scale of cultural change and challenge is huge. It is, the culture is, it's so much about the culture. But like I said, it's culture is something that evolves. It comes along. When you do the right things, you get the culture that kind of you fits on the things that you do. So like there are a lot of things you need to do to enable the culture to evolve to the right direction. It will take a lot of time. If you do the right things, if you kind of remove blockers from sort of the agility and from the teams to grow up and take responsibility, for instance, if you allow shared leadership and things like that, then the culture will evolve, I would say, faster and to the desired direction. But it's really sort of, it's something that it would be wrong approach to kind of try to make the transformation and then say we're ready, and that or say that we've changed the culture. I mean, you can change the way you work, you can change roles, you can change the organization, but culture is something that comes along with the people. So when you have people on board, all the employees on board, and the whole organization works according to the culture, then that is sort of, then you take the right steps, and then you're able to progress and proceed towards the agile culture.
Okay. The next question is actually measuring the transformation. So what were the key ways how you were tracking that you are moving towards wanted impact, and why?
It's hard during the transformation because it's probably, I mean, during on the way it's so much different change and different emotions, also different people, also including those who are sort of working hands-on with the transformation. It's hard to say where you are. It's hard to measure. It's basically measuring comes, then you start getting sort of better grip on the measurements when you have been able to make certain changes, and actually people start understanding how the teams are supposed to work and how the main concepts are supposed to work. It's a lot of new concepts that are in place, so kind of it's pretty much confusion that is the prevailing mode during the transformation in many parts. But transparency is so important. So in transformation, it's not easy to be transparent. A lot of things that you really cannot be transparent with, but people should try. They should, like I said, we started concepting some of the things already in the old organization, so that even though we didn't know exactly what the change will look like, we knew that, okay, these kind of things we can do, these are the things we will do in the future. So let's start trying them out. Let's give people a chance to kind of see how they could work as a team. We give a bit more power to the team to actually figure out the way to meet the objectives and so forth. That kind of experiments are very good to give people a good feeling on what we are trying to achieve.
Okay. We are having lots of questions. Maybe we can take one or two still. There's one question that, can you give an example of a cross-functional team? So, for example, in the sales area, so how you form a team?
I think the way how the team is formed should be basically by asking the people, how would you work in a better way? Who should you have around? Who should be engaged in the work? Who do you need in that team to actually meet the objective? So, I mean, that's the way how you should get started, at least. It depends on the organization. Like in our teams, in the customer teams, there are a lot of like we deal a lot with risk, so we need to have certain roles and certain competencies in place there. But maybe in some other companies, in some other organizations, and also in our organization, in other places, the composition of a good performing team can be quite different. It should be the team who should kind of decide like how would they perform in the best way.
Okay. So the last question, I bet you can still be here after the session to
Sure.
answer the rest of the question, but the last question, what are your plans according to those 32% which were not happy and they wanted to go back to old OP way?
I don't know if they wanted to get back to the old way, but at least they still regarded that the old way maybe seemed clearer and better for them. I think the result that we saw, that was 3 months after we had gone live, actually less than 3 months, maybe a bit more than 2 months. So I think so. It was very good news for us that also in our area, majority was positive already at that stage. And in the beginning, you have a lot of different things, challenges. Not all the new roles, they are not maybe well understood. A lot of training needs to still take place. The teams are just forming up. And so forth. So I think 2/3 was a good number for us. About the other third, we do a lot of work under the continuous improvement. So we have training sessions that are ongoing, just to give people better understanding about the roles. Try to clarify how the teams are supposed to work and what tools and practices actually work in the different types of teams. So this is something that, like I said, the business agility, there is no cookbook. So there is a period of time. Part of it we had already end of last year, but a lot of it is actually during this year. We need to experiment. We need to choose and see, try and error. What are the things that work out for us? And we are sure that when we do that and when we make the right choices and the teams have the power to figure out the best ways that work for them, I'm sure the employee satisfaction and to the new way of working also will go up accordingly.
Thank you.
We'll see.
So Markus, thank you very, very much to come here and tell the story about the OP Corporate Bank.
Thank you for inviting me.
Yes, so Markus will be available also at the after work session if you want to have a chat.